I've talked about the process of this documentary numerous times and how it is really exhausting. Mind mapping, as an example, having to map out different aspects of my film and pull it all together is something that I'm struggling with a fair amount because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot of taking the time to go through footage and find out the different areas that I want to use and the ones that I don't want to use. And I know I've made some videos sitting here just talking about different aspects of my life, and I think some of those may actually work better than other shots that I've taken. But at the same time, who knows? I could look at everything and want to scrap everything and reshoot everything. How many times? Oh my gosh, I can't even fucking talk. How many times will I say everything? The mouse that I have just keeps dying. I have this like charger for it, but for some reason it's not actually charging it. I don't know if my computer needs to be on. Sorry, that was a random side note. Mostly for myself. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah, the documentary. There's so many different aspects of it that I would like to be able to shoot, and I can't. I don't even have my camera set up properly, and the ISO is too high, and that's something that's frustrating me because everything looks so grainy, and I don't know how to change that, because whenever I lower the ISO, it just kind of makes it like there's like all these tracers and stuff when people move. Like you can kind of see tracers with my hand right now, so there's an example of that. But it's not like people are going to be sitting in front of the camera and being like, hi, how's it going? And like waving their hand, and they're going to see all these tracers and shit. Like, it's not going to be like that because, you know, documentary filmmaking isn't super hand talky. But even with this camera, you can see that the ISO is a little, it's fine. You know, at least it's not autofocus, but at least it's focused enough at this point. So I don't have to like adjust my camera in that way, and you can see my face kind of clearly, which is good. But my other camera is giving me some issues. And it's not even just that, like I've recorded audio and it didn't actually record. I hit record on the camera and it didn't record. There's been a lot of issues that have arose, so to speak, while doing this whole process, things that I haven't had happen outside of this process, and that in itself is something that's frustrating and challenging, because you know, you may have filmed something talking about something very deep that was really difficult to talk about, and then all of the footage is gone for that topic, so you have to reshoot it, or you have to reevaluate and decide if you're actually going to use that footage or not. And I don't want to go into super detail about the stuff that I'm shooting because I don't want to give too much away, so that's why I'm being vague. Like, I want it to be kind of a surprise and you guys see everything. Now, if you're watching this and you're new here, I am making a documentary. It's called Life in the Bubble. There is a video on my channel for a pitch that I did about my life, which helped get me grant funding so that I could make the documentary that I'm making. I'm partnered with Storyhive and Tellus, and I'm very excited and ecstatic for this opportunity, and also very overwhelmed by the whole process because it is a lot of work directing and writing a film, which is something that I didn't think would be so much work, because I wasn't a filmmaker before I started working on this film. And you know, doing a YouTube video like the ones that I do, where I sit here and I do stream of consciousness and I just talk about whatever, there's like no editing that really goes into my YouTube videos, because I just kind of verbally blah and talk about stuff and then I post it. So, and it's also like my live streaming. I just, you know, turn on music and I start to do makeup and just talk about things, or we play a video game and I talk about things, or I, you know, do art and we talk about things, which I haven't done for a while because I'm really depressed. But like all of those things, those are all like live, or like this is like pre-recorded, but it's stream of consciousness, so there's very little editing that goes into it. So stuff like that is completely different than documentary filmmaking, because you have like maybe 48 hours of footage or more that you have to sift through to pick out different sections of things to tell your story. And sure, it sounds easy to an outsider, but it's not. It's really not. And the amount of work and time and energy and effort that goes into what I'm doing is exhausting me in a good way, but also because I'm chronically ill, it's like 10 times harder to do things because I don't have the energy that everybody else has. So I'm like exhausted, but still trying to like do an interview, or I'm exhausted and still trying to go through footage, or I'm exhausted and I have to do finals, like, which is totally not related to my documentary, but like there's all of these things in my life that are attributing to stress. And I found recently that people on the outside are not very understanding of it. Some people are. Some people are like, yeah, it's a lot of work, you know, to make a film, because you see the finished product, right? You may see a half hour or an hour or an hour and a half of a film, and you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. Dude, like, we've all thought that at some point, I'm sure, but when you actually sit down to do the process and you realize you can't do it all in one day, you can't do it all in a month, you can't do it all in 6 months, you might have to take an entire year to do something like that. And the little bits and pieces you have to do over that year of collecting information, collecting paperwork, collecting contacts, like doing the filming, going back through the film that you've taken and looking at different areas, realizing that, you know, 3-4 hours of an interview with someone you may only be able to use 2 minutes of. So there's all of that. And then there's people on the outside being like, it's easy. It's not easy. And I know it's not easy because of how stressed out I've been. I know it's not easy because I've wanted to give up so many times making this thing. But there's a quote, and I can't remember who it's by, but it goes something along the lines of, people get to a point where they want to give up, and it's after that point that they want to give up that things actually start to happen for them. And I'm loosely paraphrasing here because I can't remember who said it. But the whole idea of it is that, you know, we're going through the motions of, you know, going towards our dreams or achieving our goals. And it's not easy when you're at that point. You have to push through that. This is hard, this is difficult, I want to give up, because that's kind of where I am. And I don't want to give up on this. I want to finish it. And I want to show people what my message is. And by doing that, I hope that it'll bring hope to other people. So I'm not going to give up. I am going to keep going. And it's so hard. Like, it's so hard. This is the hardest thing that I have ever done in my creative life, because I have no control over a lot of the stuff that's happening. The footage that didn't work out, the audio that didn't record. I did a test on my mic to make sure that it was recording and it was fine, but then it picked up no sound. Like, stuff like that I have no control over. So I may be able to use some shots from that stuff, but I definitely can't use the sound because for some reason my Yeti was like, nah, fuck you, Ari, and it didn't pick up any sound. Although it's not like my mic can actually laugh at me, but I'm pretty sure it is, you little nah. But, you know, like, that kind of stuff I have no control over. And so it's trying to work with what I've got. It's trying to redo what I need to get redone, but also continue to encourage myself, because I have to encourage myself through this entire process, or I will get nowhere. I'll get nowhere. If I quit, I'll never get my art seen by people. If I quit, I will never have my books get published. If I quit, I will never be able to own a home where I could be safe from outside scents and not have anyone in so I can fully protect myself and be bubbled and have that safety net that is home. So I won't quit, even though I really want to. But I also want to be really raw and real and authentic, because that's who I am as a person. And if you've seen this video, or if you've seen other videos of mine, and if you've come by my Twitch channel, I sometimes don't even talk much on stream because of how crappy I feel. But just hanging out with you guys has really helped me get through so many things. And on days where I'm like a grumpy mess, you guys still come back. On days where I'm like happy and excited to be there, you're there. You know, you guys have been there for me when other people have not. And that's why I consider my community to be my family and my friends, because there's been this connection that I've had with some of you guys that makes me feel whole again. And as someone who lives very secludedly to protect myself, it makes me feel like I belong somewhere. So thank you for that. And on that note, I should go and work on some stuff. Take it easy. Talk soon. Bye-bye, meow.